I'm sorry, I'm not feeling well, so I need to leave early. I told my boss and got permission to leave early. In truth, while I was feeling a bit under the weather, the real reason I needed to leave early was something else entirely. As I entered my house, I heard some noises coming from the back room. Trying not to make any noise, I walked towards the back room and stopped in front of the door. Then, I heard indecent voices of a man and a woman coming from inside. Quietly, I opened the door and peeked inside. There were Mike and Emily, looking lovingly at each other. I really messed up marrying such an unattractive woman. Young and pretty is definitely better. I'm so happy. Let me make you feel even better. I involuntarily closed my eyes. Even though our marriage was on the rocks, I still wanted to believe. But now, faced with this reality, I can't run away. There's only one thing left to do. To bring down the two who have caused me so much pain. My name is Ashley Johnson. I'm a 30-year-old housewife working part-time at a major company. My husband is Mike, 2 years my senior, working in local real estate. Our meeting was 2 years ago at a party hosted by a friend. It was a gathering of about 10 people, evenly split between men and women. There was one man who seemed to be orchestrating everything around. That was Mike. He was brimming with confidence, always smiling, and made sure the conversation never died, entertaining everyone. I guess people like him are really good at their job. The first day I met him, that moment, I was drawn to Mike. But what about Mike himself? All the girls there were younger, cuter, and more fashionable than me. There's no way he would be interested in someone as plain and quiet as me. Watching everyone getting along, I thought I shouldn't have come. That's when it happened. Let's drink together. Mike came over to me. I was so happy, I couldn't help but smile. Then Mike said, "You have a beautiful smile." Thanks to that one line, I felt instantly closer to him. We exchanged contact details and later went on our first date. From there, our relationship developed further, and 3 months after we met, we started dating. And a year later, I'll definitely make you happy. Let's get married. Mike proposed. I look forward to it. 6 months later, surrounded by well wishes, we became husband and wife. But married life wasn't as sweet as I thought. Being a working couple was harder than I expected. Far from the ideal I had in mind at the beginning of our marriage. That made me face the harsh reality. Mike was busy with work, usually getting home around 9 p.m. At first, we used to eat together even if he came home late, but then he stopped having dinner at home, saying he was eating out with colleagues. And gradually, we stopped having meals together. 3 months into the marriage, our conversations dwindled, and we began to drift apart. One day, returning from my part-time job, I saw Mike's shoes at the entrance. Huh? He's back already? Mike wasn't in the living room, but I found him asleep in the bedroom. Mike? What's up? Are you feeling ill? He slowly sat up and said he'd been thinking about something. It's great we bought a condo after getting married, but I'm not okay with paying more of the mortgage. I couldn't believe what he was saying. I was paying a significant amount too. Don't compare us, Mike. I'm contributing too, you know that, right? Mike paused, then said, "It's not enough. You should contribute more." How can you say that? 80% of my part-time income goes to the mortgage. What more do you expect? That's where I have an idea, Mike said. He then suggested something utterly selfish. Increase your part-time hours. What? Work more hours, earn more. You said you wanted to work more, right? Being cooped up at home all day is depressing. More hours, less discontent. Plus, it'll help us pay off the mortgage faster. Wait a minute. Sure, more hours might ease things, but my body can't handle it. I was already overwhelmed with household chores, let alone increasing my work hours. But Mike just insisted it would be fine. So, I suggested he help with the chores. What? Are you kidding me? I work from dawn till late at night. And now you want me to do chores too? I'm not asking for everything, just help with things like taking out the trash or cleaning the bathroom. Hearing this, Mike's expression hardened and he lashed out. Don't get carried away because I'm being lenient. Why should the man of the house do chores? That's a housewife's job, something you should be doing anyway. And no way your increased work hours will make a big dent in the mortgage. What can someone earning peanuts say? Talk about that after you earn like I do. You just need to listen to what I say. Got it? I was so shocked by Mike's words, showing he only thought of himself, that I couldn't even argue back. I just listened. After that day, my relationship with Mike deteriorated even further. Every day, he pressured me to work longer hours. If I refused, I'd face his terrible verbal abuse. Out of fear, I told my boss I wanted to increase my work hours, but I was told it couldn't happen until the next month's contract. Mike's pressure continued during that time. Finally, a month later, I managed to get my working hours increased. But that was the beginning of 6 months of hell. With more work hours, I had less time for housework. I started work at 7 a.m. and finished at 5 p.m. After shopping, I'd get home around 6 p.m. and start on the household chores. Before I knew it, it was time for Mike to return home. And he still came home late, never helping with the housework. I ended up being chased by both work and house chores every day. My body and mind were increasingly exhausted, worsened by Mike's verbal abuse. You can't even get the bath ready? You're a failure as a housewife. This is definitely grounds for divorce. And on another day, you've aged recently. Going straight to becoming an old lady because I don't pay attention to you? Please, don't make me your caregiver. He was like a different person with his words and actions. I didn't even want to see or hear Mike anymore. Then, one day, Mike brought home a woman. This is my cousin Emily. Nice to meet you, I'm Emily, his cousin. They claimed to be relatives, but I had no memory of her. Really a relative? Skeptical, I questioned Mike, who insisted she was a relative. That didn't make sense. I had met all his relatives at our wedding and introduced myself. But I had never met Emily. Were you at our wedding? Mike quickly denied it. She was too busy to come to the wedding. And since Emily is a distant relative, it's not strange that you don't know her. I couldn't believe him. As I looked doubtful, Mike told me to get Emily a drink. Sighing, I went to the kitchen to make coffee, and Emily followed me. Ashley, are you a full-time housewife? No, why? You look a bit aged. But now I understand why. Balancing a job and housework, you have no time to pamper yourself. I was irritated by Emily's words, but restrained myself. Then Mike joined us, agreeing with Emily. Emily's got a point. You've been neglecting your makeup because you're busy. It's like you've given up on being a woman. And you can't even do housework properly. Remember when you didn't even get the bath ready when I was tired? Terrible, right? Wow, that's really bad. I'm definitely better than a woman who can't even do housework. They laughed and pointed at me. After that, they kept making snide remarks at me for 3 hours until Emily finally left. A week later, I came home from work and saw Mike's shoes and unfamiliar women's shoes at the entrance. What's this? Feeling uneasy, I went to the living room. There I found Mike and Emily drinking wine. What are you doing? Ah, you're back? I got home a while ago. Oops, sorry for intruding. They both seemed already tipsy, their actions suspicious. 3 cans of beer and wine? That's a bit much. When I tried to take the half-finished wine, I faintly smelled body wash from Emily. And strangely, the same scent from Mike. I recognized that scent. It was the scent of the body wash I use. Why would they both smell the same? Then I noticed something different about Mike. Ah, you're wearing different clothes. I realized the odd feeling I had earlier. Mike was wearing clothes he usually saved for dates. That meant something. At that moment, my suspicions turned into certainty. That night, Emily stayed until 2 a.m. I was at their beck and call the whole time, cooking, running out to buy more drinks, and not even getting a chance to bathe. Hey, wake up. You'll catch a cold. Let's go to bed. I got the drunken Mike up and took him to bed. 3 weeks passed, and Emily was nowhere to be seen, but one thing had changed. My body wash was running out much faster. This intensified my doubts and left me restless. I had been thinking about something all this time. And then the day came. I'm sorry. I feel unwell and need to leave early. I told my boss and got permission to leave early. I wasn't feeling great, but more importantly, I had to leave early today. When I opened the front door and entered, I heard noises from the back room. I quietly approached and stopped in front of the door. Inside, I heard indistinct voices of a man and a woman. I softly opened the door and peeked inside. There were Mike and Emily, looking affectionately at each other. Marrying that ugly woman was a huge mistake. Young and cute is definitely better. I'm so glad. Let me make you feel even better. I had to close my eyes. Even though our marriage was falling apart, I still had a sliver of hope. But now, I couldn't run from the reality in front of me. I had to do something. To bring down the two who caused me so much pain. I took out my phone from my bag and started recording them. About 10 minutes passed. That's enough. I had enough evidence. Resolved, I burst open the door. Ah! Ashley! Why are you here? The two were in a state of panic at my sudden appearance. Without a moment's delay, I showed them the phone in my hand. This is the video I just recorded. What? You're joking! Erase that now! There was no way I was going to erase it. This was solid evidence of their affair. And it wasn't something only I should know about. I sent the video to your husband. What? Husband? Emily, you're married! Mike turned pale and confronted Emily, but she seemed not to hear his words and simply uttered. Huh? Do you understand what I said? I told you, I sent a video of what you two were doing to your husband. What are you doing? Right after I told her I sent the video, Emily, with a furious look, lunged at me. However, she got tangled in the sheets and fell off the bed with a thud. Ouch! Worried about Emily, Mike asked if she was okay and reached out to help her. What are you doing? Why are you trying to help her? What do you want, Ashley? What's fun about doing such a terrible thing? What did we ever do to you? I was speechless with disbelief. They had no idea what they had done. They were no longer human to me, just animals driven by desire. It's tiring even to put it into words. There's perfect evidence, and you still won't admit to the affair. That's the end of you as a person. I showed them the video I had recorded earlier. Mike shouted, "Stop it. Erase it now. If you want to stop it, try to do it by force. You're a man, aren't you?" Provoked, Mike, face red with anger, tried to snatch my phone but, like Emily, got tangled in the sheets and fell off the bed. Damn! What are you two doing? Do your actions become similar when you keep being intimate with each other? I said, looking down at the two of them sprawled on the floor. Mike glared at me fiercely, and Emily looked defeated. Looking at me like that doesn't scare me. But are you okay with this? Fighting with me here? What are you talking about? Clueless, they looked at me, so I showed them the screen of my phone. Oh! The moment Emily saw the phone, she froze, mouth agape. I'm connected right now. If you have something to say, please go ahead. If you have the courage to talk to him, that is. Emily was stunned, and Mike didn't seem to understand what was happening. Mike, you don't understand, do you? Who I'm connected with right now. This person is Emily's husband. Emily had hidden her marriage from Mike and had an affair with him. Mike naively believed her. And ended up in this situation. Not that I have any sympathy for Mike, who was easily fooled. "Mr. Smith, sorry to keep you waiting. I'll be there soon." "Thank you." I ended the call, looked at them silently, and smirked. Then, as if coming back to her senses, Emily nervously looked at me.
"What? Why did you hang up?"
"He's coming now."
"Who's coming?"
"Your husband is coming here." Right after that, the doorbell rang. "He's here." As I was about to go to the front door to greet Mr. Smith, Emily suddenly started to freak out.
"What? Emily, what's wrong?"
Mike was shocked at Emily's uncharacteristic behavior. Well, it's no wonder Emily reacted like that. Because Emily's husband is. Then the bedroom door opened, and in came a tall, gentlemanly man. What a pathetic sight. The moment Emily saw Mr. Smith, she clutched her head and started uttering nonsense.
"Ah!"
Mike was stunned by her disgraceful behavior. However, Mr. Smith, unfazed, addressed Mike. "You must be Mike. My wife seems to have caused you quite some trouble. As this situation has unfolded, I must respond appropriately. As the head of a company, I cannot let this go unaddressed." Mike had been continuing his relationship with Emily without knowing about Mr. Smith's existence until now. When he learned about it at this very moment. "I'll tell you about Mr. Smith. What kind of person he is." However, Mike's shocked expression suddenly turned serious, and he looked at us sharply. "You talk about being a top executive and appropriate responses, but the real fault lies with you for neglecting Emily. You're making it sound like it's my fault. Besides, you're just some lowlife husband lecturing me. What kind of top executive are you? Probably just a third-rate company president. Talk to me when you earn more than I do." Jerk. How can he criticize others so selfishly after having an affair? I'm ashamed that I chose such a man as my husband for life. What? Can't say anything because I hit the nail on the head? That's why you get dumped by your cute wife and she runs off with another man. Pathetic. I can't even sympathize with you as a fellow man. I could only sigh in response. And I apologized to Mr. Smith for making him deal with such a man. Mr. Smith, with a kind smile, said, "It's okay." His kindness highlighted the stark difference between him and Mike. "If you really want to know about Mr. Smith, I'll tell you. But it will shatter your pride." "Huh? No way that's true." Mike continued with his arrogant attitude. "You're really foolish. This man is the president of the company I work for." At that moment, Mike's face turned ashen. "Huh? No, that can't be true. Because the company you work at is..." You get it now, right? The president of the company I work for, that means something. I work at a local food manufacturer, Smith Iron Foods. It's a major company with well over 500 employees. And Mike's company happens to be a subcontractor for it. No way! The president of Smith Iron Foods? But how did you and the president? Normally, a part-timer like me wouldn't exchange contact information with the president of the company. Well, you guys created that opportunity, though. It's unheard of for a mere part-time employee to be in contact with the company's president. But due to a minor incident, I came to know Mr. Smith's contact details. This started 3 weeks ago, when I suspected Mike and Emily of having an affair. They were acting like lovers, touching intimately, even hugging. To anyone, it would seem like they were in a relationship. And during a brief moment when I was away, I found evidence in the trash that they had been intimate. Since then, my mind has been filled with thoughts of Mike's betrayal. And as if to add fuel to the fire, I was burdened with the daily tasks of work and household chores. Gradually, I could feel both my body and mind starting to break down. One day, during lunch break in the company cafeteria, Mr. Smith approached me. "Miss Johnson, you look quite exhausted. Is the office work too tough?" I was surprised. Despite not being a staff member, Mr. Smith, the president, knew me. He said he knew all the employees' names and sat down across from me. Then, unexpectedly, he started talking about himself. He married a woman 20 years his junior 3 years ago, and while the marriage started happily, his wife's attitude changed within 6 months. She stopped doing any housework and lived a life of leisure. It's tough for you too, Mr. Smith. But why are you telling me this? I felt you might be going through something similar. Marriage is truly challenging. Unlike your situation, the reason for my marital issues is entirely my fault. I spoiled my wife too much, a classic case of being blinded by love. Mr. Smith looked a bit sad as he said this. But something else caught my attention. What's your wife like, Mr. Smith? Without saying anything, he took out his phone and showed me a photo of his wife.
Is this really your wife?
I was shocked when I saw the photo. Yes, it is. The woman he pointed out as his wife was Emily, whom Mike had introduced as his cousin.
Emily, right? How do you know my wife's name?
I told Mr. Smith everything I knew. I see, Ms. Johnson. Thank you for telling me. I'll remember this. As he was about to leave, I stopped him. I also have something I want to talk to you about, I said to Mr. Smith. I told him about how Mike and Emily had been coming to the apartment almost daily and engaging in an affair.
How did you know?
By the scent. The fragrance of my body wash that wasn't there in the morning. They were always taking a shower before getting together. Using my body wash. Indeed, the amount of body wash had been decreasing abnormally. I see. But just knowing that doesn't seem like enough to do anything about it, does it? That's why I wanted to consult with you. That's when I decided on the day to barge into the room. For that reason? You say that, but anyone would wonder if the scent of their body wash was filling the room. If you're going to cheat, you should have been more careful about your surroundings. Mike slumped his shoulders in defeat, and behind him, Emily, who had screamed herself hoarse, was staring blankly at the ceiling. Suddenly, Mike started muttering to himself. Step back a bit.
Eh?
Right after that.
Are you kidding me?
He came at me with a demonic look. But the next moment, Mike was suspended in the air and then fell to the floor.
Ugh!
I've been learning Taekwondo, just in case something happened. Never thought it would come in handy here. Mr. Smith then sternly addressed Mike, who was lying on the floor. I will be reporting this matter to the president of your company. Knowing him, he will impose a severe penalty. Be prepared for that. And for me too. This is a divorce paper. I've already filled in my name, so I need you to write yours now. And because you spent all our savings on that woman, there will be no division of assets. As for alimony, you can look forward to a call from my lawyer soon. Following that, both of them faced difficult times. Mr. Smith divorced Emily that day and demanded a substantial alimony. Emily, who had never worked before, now lives in a shabby apartment, working night shifts and allocating 90% of her earnings to pay the alimony. As for Mike, he signed the divorce papers on the spot and filed them immediately, finalizing the divorce. The next day, just as Mr. Smith said, Mike's boss demoted him and transferred him to a rural area. With the high alimony bill and his need to survive, he's been physically exhausting himself with construction work after his day job. Yet, he's still barely making ends meet and is now living a mentally tormented life. As for me, after the divorce, I sold the apartment we lived in and moved to a new one. My life, once devoid of freedom, is now filled with it. Since the incident, I've become quite close to Mr. Smith. I'm not ready to seek new relationships just after my divorce, but I hope to meet someone wonderful in the future. Of course, for now, my work and personal life are my top priorities.